Hi there, I'm Huon Hooke and this is The Real Review. The wine I'm tasting today is Taltarni Old Vine Cabernet Sauvignon 2020 vintage from the Pyrenees region of Victoria, of course, which is Taltarni, of course, is one of the original wineries in that Pyrenees region. It's a well-known, established brand that's been around for a long time. This wine is made from 50-year-old vines, so that gives you an idea of how long they've been there. Those would be some of the original vines planted on the property back in the very late, early 70s or late 60s. So Taltarni has produced a lot of statuesque red wines over the years, full-bodied, really seriously well-structured reds that have aged beautifully. Even the very first vintages they produced back in the 70s aged brilliantly. The tannin quality is extraordinary, the intensity of flavour, magical. And they keep on changing things, tweaking things with the labels, the packaging, and the actual wines that they release. So there are several Cabernets now, and Cabernet blends as well. The top of the range is called the Patron, which is a Cabernet Shiraz blend made from the very best blocks of vines on the property, not released every year. And I guess the Old Vine Cabernet is now the second tier. They've been producing it for about 3 or 4 vintages that I can think of. This is $50 wine, so it's not cheap, but it's not as expensive as the Patron either. So I'm going to pour a little of this in my glass and have a taste of it. And the first thing you notice about Taltarni reds is the depth of colour. They're always really deep and saturated colours. A sign of a really high quality Cabernet Sauvignon. You never see a great Cabernet with a very light colour, like a Pinot Noir perhaps. It's usually great depth of colour, and if you look at it against a white background, it has a real tinge of purple on the rim, even though it's already 3 years old, 3 and a bit years old. Let's have a taste. And the bouquet of that wine is so distinctive. It could not be anything other than an Australian wine, and I think it takes you straight to the Pyrenees and also to Taltarni. A lot of the Pyrenees wines have a lot of peppermint, eucalypt, gum leaf kind of aromas. Taltarni is always very subtle in that suite of aromas. They're always a little more underplayed than some of the others in the district. And this wine has what I would call a forest floor character. It's like walking through an Australian forest on a warm summer's day, and you can smell the leaves of the trees that are living and the leaves that are decaying on the ground at the same time. It has that wonderful, what we call the forest floor character. In amongst that you can smell thyme, and you can smell rosemary, you can smell oregano, all those sorts of wild herb characters, a bit of mushroom, a bit of bay leaf, and very, very complex, not anything but simple fruit, So the fruit's there, the black fruits, the red fruits, they're all there, but there is much more to it than just simple fruit. Let's have a taste. As you might expect, if you've had Taltarni before, it's full-bodied. There's nothing shrinking violet about this wine, but it is not as tannic or as aggressive on the palate as some Cabernets can be. And I'm reminded of some of the very early Taltarni Cabernets, which were really tannic when they were young, but they aged brilliantly because the tannins were good quality tannins. They weren't green tannins. This wine has plenty of tannin, but they are soft tannins, and the wine is approachable now. So even though this wine is going to live for at least 20 years, it's a lovely drink right now. So I would recommend, if you have it now, you need it with food. And the dish that I would recommend would be probably bœuf bourguignon, which is a nice piece of beef simmered long and slow with red wine, but also herbs in it. Thyme, bay leaf, oregano, whatever you put in, and a bit of mushroom. There's always mushrooms. They strike a chord with the aromas and flavours of this wine. What did we score it? We scored it 96, which is a really high score. It's a high gold or trophy score in the show system. And we've said drink it from now until 15 years, but I've got no problem this wine will sell it for at least 20 years if it's been well looked after. Cheers.